Many people think that keeping emotions out of decision-making is the key to making good decisions. However, contrary to popular belief and decades of scientific misunderstanding, it turns out that the exact opposite is true. Keeping emotions out of it is actually a disaster for decision-making, according to recently published studies. Latest research adds to a growing body of evidence that the role emotions play in the brain is different than what most scientists have supposed for decades. Even the most mundane, rational decisions rely on emotional data. For many decades, scientists have thought of cognition and emotion as two largely separate systems in the brain. And even as researchers began to find evidence of the interdependence of the two, this interaction was often seen in the light of emotions interfering with higher cognitive processes. It's traditionally been like two players: cognition, the rational human, and emotions, like a chimp running amok. This is where our cultural mindset about being rational and keeping emotions out of making decisions comes from. The roots of understanding this deep interconnection of cognition and emotion, like many breakthroughs in neuroscience, were found by studying patients with brain damage. The brain lesions these patients had suffered to a particular section of the frontal lobe had not impacted their knowledge base or logical reasoning abilities. They understood what made a good business investment. They understood and could describe the social rules and conventions that should guide their actions. With any decision, they could go through the pros and the cons. Yet these previously upstanding men and women struggled to make even simple decisions and began to make disadvantageous decisions in many different aspects of their lives. It was found that what they could not do was to use past emotional knowledge to guide their reasoning process, even though they knew logically that a specific business deal was risky or that a certain decision could endanger their relationship with someone close to them. They couldn't access the past emotional knowledge and use that to guide the reasoning process. Emotions seem to provide an essential link between what is known to be true and the motivation to act accordingly. Emotions provide neurohormones that the body releases in response to our perceptions of the world. They provide a primary filter that focuses attention and provides motivation towards a specific course of action, and this is their importance in decision-making. Even if we know that a tiger is dangerous, or that a walk in the woods makes us feel good, it's the emotional response of fear and joy that really motivates us to hide from a tiger or go for a walk in the woods, not knowing logically that we should. Emotions are the motivator, the push. They provide the impetus around a decision. To know that a decision is risky is one thing, but to feel the anxiety and appropriate fear associated with risk-taking is quite another, and it's this difference that makes the difference when it comes to making decisions. The more we learn to recognize and respond appropriately to our emotions, fear to protect us, joy to do more of what we want to, the more effective we are, personally and professionally. So, without emotions, the higher level of cognitive processes can't function properly. Instead of keeping emotions out of decision-making, the new advice should be to make sure emotion and cognition are working together. Without the guidance of emotional learning and social feedback, rational thought and logical reasoning abilities are of little use. It's the blending of thinking and feeling that leads to optimal decisions. So, contrary to decades of scientific and cultural understanding, emotions are now considered to play a fundamental role in rational thought, or at least in the ability to do something about those thoughts. Without the guidance of emotional learning and social feedback, rational thought and logical reasoning abilities are of little use. This is a process called practicing emotional intelligence, and it's through this process of cognition and emotion working together that optimal decisions are made.